All right, true story. Last week, I was meeting with the wastewater superintendent of a Northern California city, and he said, "We just finished our 10-year I&I plan." I said, "That's awesome. Let's see if we can do it in the next 2 years." Now, he looked at me with disbelief, but once I explained to him the Basin IQ process from R.H. Borden, he said, "Well, let's get my boss in here." In the next 5 minutes, I'm going to introduce this process and show you how you can achieve real reductions in I&I faster and less expensively than you expect. Now, inflow and infiltration feels like a problem that can't be beat. All we can do is line pipes and build more storage and put in excess processing capacity because there is no way we will ever get rid of all of our I&I. Well, this is true, of course. You are never going to get all of the I&I out of your system. But the good news is you don't have to. At the AC24 conference in Sacramento, we heard from a system that went from a cease and desist order to having no Category 1 spills in 10 years. This was through an aggressive I&I reduction effort. And how much I&I did they have to reduce to make that amount of progress? 28%. That's it. You don't need to get rid of all of your I&I to eliminate wet weather spills or significantly reduce the need for additional treatment and storage. Now, how does Basin IQ work? Our basic approach is to use advanced radar sensors combined with R.H. Borden's patent-pending manhole virtualization technology to prioritize each source of I&I in your system. We start with what we call the major basin assessment. This is where we identify drainage basins of about 10 to 15 linear miles of pipe with a common outfall. We then install synchronized sensors at the outfall of each basin, and as a storm comes through, we can identify which basin is contributing the highest amount of both inflow and infiltration. Now, there's a pretty good chance you have already done this work in your system, and if so, that's great. Let's build on it. What the Basin IQ does to change the game is the next piece, which we call the target basin assessment. This is where we blanket a basin with sensors, an average of 7 per mile, or about 1 sensor in every other manhole. This resolution allows us to identify sources of I&I to within about 800 feet. This has never been done before because the process, sensors, and the software to monitor hundreds of sensors has not been available in the United States until now. So, why is this process so much faster? Well, it's because, number one, these sensors can be deployed rapidly. We can do about 20 a day. Number two, the approach gets results really fast. It only takes 2 or 3 storms to get conclusive results. Now, last year, this winter of 2024-25, we were able to complete 2 rounds of sensor deployment in just one winter because of the number of storms. Number 3, Basin IQ's high resolution, that 800-foot resolution, allows us to home in on specific sources of I&I very quickly. This is what a target basin assessment looks like. Here we have a basin that's been identified as being very leaky and that has about 9.25 miles of pipe. The Basin IQ process deploys 60 sensors to show us which specific manholes, or maybe even houses, are contributing the lion's share of I&I. This is how a 10-year plan gets done in 2 years. Oh, and by the way, this assessment cost a little under $75,000. Each sensor produces a signature that indicates the presence of inflow, infiltration, blockages in the system, or no I&I at all. It's important to know if you're dealing with inflow versus infiltration because they affect your system differently and they're diagnosed and repaired differently. Inflow, with its massive spikes in flow, drives spills. But it's also cheaper and easier to fix because the problem is usually at the surface. An uncapped cleanout, an illicit connection, or leaking manhole lids in a marshy area. It can be diagnosed with smoke testing or sometimes even just walking around and looking at things. Infiltration, on the other hand, contributes more water overall, and this drives our treatment costs. It's also more expensive to fix because the sources of infiltration are usually underground. It's possible to make significant reductions to your INI, maybe even hit that magical 28% number, just by addressing your most significant sources of inflow. Now, if you've got your 10-year INI plan all buttoned up, or even if you haven't started working on it yet, take a moment to fill out the form that's right below this video and make an appointment with me to get to know the BasinIQ process. It will help you address your INI faster, more effectively, and more inexpensively than you can possibly imagine. I look forward to telling you all about it.